Hey, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I believe everyone is present and online, so we'll begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to announce that the board met in exec session immediately prior to this meeting for the purpose of receiving the required annual safety and security reports and for one personnel contractual matter. And next thing, need a motion to approve the minutes, the agenda for tonight, incorporating any additions or deletions or as
Mr.
presented.
President, point of order.
Yes.
To the extent that board members wish to make amendments to any of the budget related items, would you prefer that that happen now or when they come up for a vote?
It's a great question. Why don't we just wait, because we're doing the budget things separately, and the first three articles in the finance thing are the budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So could I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Wagner was the second. All those in favor? Mrs. Eshelman?
Is Mrs. Eshelman on?
She was.
She is.
I did, and I raised my hand.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Next will be approval of the minutes for the previous school board meeting held May 13th, the minutes of the Education Program Policy Personnel and Legal Committee meeting held on May 15th, and the Buildings and Grounds Finance Committee meeting held on May 27th. Need a motion to approve those minutes, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Brady. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. All those in favor? Okay, and Mrs. Eshelman, hands up. Motion carries 9-0. We'll move on to student and staff recognitions, which is Mr. Brooks.
Get to come out here to honor a lot of our guests here today. So we started this last June, where we invited our student athletes who participated at competition level, but at the state level. And I thought, as we were talking through things last year, that this was a great way to honor and congratulate all of our student athletes, to not only talk about how hard you work on the field or in your sport, but also how hard you work in the classroom and also out in the community from a service standpoint. So as a district, we are so incredibly proud of what you do every day in and out of the classroom. But to honor you for achieving the ability to compete at the state level is a huge accomplishment. And so we just want you to know how proud we are, and just to say thank you and congratulations on the hard work and all the great things that you do. So I'm going to call you up. I know some were not able to be here, so if something changed, we'll go through. But as I do this, I'm going to start with Alex Gregory, competed with Rose Wendell. So let's bring Alice and Rose up. Was Rose able to, but for the state doubles championship at the state level. So congratulations. We'll make sure Rose gets her certificate as well. For cross country at this competing at states, we had Sam Myers. He was not able to be here, so we'll make sure he gets his certificate. For bowling, Priest McKenzie. Priest here, not able to be here. Swimming, the 200 medley relay, earning a 7th place medal, as well as the 200 free and 400 free relay participation, Ryan Taylor. Also for swimming, again, 7th place medal for the 200 medley relay, and also participated in the 200 free, Andrew Gates. Make sure Andrew gets this. Also for swimming, 200 medley relay 7th place, as well as participated in the 100 breast and 400 free relay, Caden Fapp. Swimming, again, 200 medley relay 7th place medal, as well as the 100 fly participation, 200 free relay, and the 400 free, Jackson Shirey. And Jackson was not able to be here today, but let's give him a round of applause. Make sure he gets it. Also for swimming, participating in the 200 free relay, as well as the 400 free relay, Ivan Vitko. If he was able to be here, let's give him a round of applause. Again, continuing with swimming and the 200 free relay participation, Grace Wagner. Still with swimming and the 200 free relay, Lucy Bishop. Also swimming, 200 free relay, as well as the 100 breast, Addie Bushnell. And with swimming as well, 200 free relay, Cami Wolf. Not able to be here. Give her a round of applause. And also swimming, a 200 free relay alternate, Sarah Roth. Boys tennis doubles champions at the state level. Cooper Lehman was unable to be here. Let's congratulate Cooper. Also, state champion for doubles tennis, Braylon Garcia. Braylon here. Oh, let's give her a round. Right. For track and field, girls 4x100 relay, Izzy Heisey. Don't believe she was able to be here. So congratulations to Izzy. Also 4x100, Alexis Gibler. Track and field, girls 4x100 relay, Maya Thompson. All right. Also, track and field girls 4x100 relay, Leah Brenneman. Track and field girls triple jump, Sydney Rose. And track and field championships participation boys pole vault, Will Newport. That's such a huge list of student athletes to qualify to compete at the state level. Let's give them all another round of applause. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for the passion you have, not only for academics, but also being engaged in something that keeps that fire lit from within. So we're just really proud of you. Job well done. And for those of you who are now officially graduates of Hempfield, we wish you the best in what's to come for you in your next journey. And for those of you who are still going to be in the classroom and competing next year, we're going to be cheering you on, rooting you on, and hoping to see great things moving forward. So again, congratulations to all of you. And thank you for the parents who were also able to be here and guardians. We appreciate your support for the students and their endeavors as well. So congratulations. You are all welcome to stay as long as you would like. I think it's a great thing that we can honor them. Just seeing the representation across all of our sports throughout the school year there's a huge accomplishment there. So Also with recognitions, as you heard from our student council at our last meeting, they shared who the new advisor or the new leadership roles will be. So we'll see them back at the start of the next school year. So that, Mr. Donato, I'll turn it back to you for residents' requests.
And unless I'm reading this incorrectly, we have no residents' request to speak to the board. So we could go on with that. The next thing, but before we go on to the superintendent's report, I'd like to read something because you're going to talk about the end of the school year. As the school year comes to close, I want to extend my thanks to Mike and his leadership team, Tab, Doug, Karen, Kelly, Mike, Kim, who's not here, Bill, and Elena, for a successful and rewarding school year. Throughout the school year, the team encountered many challenges. When meeting the challenges, the team always prioritized what was best for our students. Your support and tireless efforts have not gone unnoticed and are deeply appreciated. Mike, I'd like to extend my gratitude to you for your leadership and dedication throughout the year. Your leadership and support have been at the heart of this successful and rewarding school year. And that, you may do the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. And as I shared with you earlier, we have amazing staff here in the district who care deeply about our students, our programming, and also the community. And so a lot of the hard work and all the time, energy, and effort is about our students and making sure that our community and the school system thrives. And that's what our staff does day in, day out. So we're fortunate on many levels here at Hempfield. From a district standpoint, as board members, you know, and I thank you for those who were able to attend graduation that we had last week. Truly a wonderful event, 5 years in a row with beautiful weather. It has been, knock on wood, yes. We're going to hope again for next year, but it is so special to be able to see and watch our students walk from the high school into the stadium and be surrounded by so many of their family members, their loved ones, community members, just cheering them on. And at the beginning, when we're all kind of walking in and all of the groups are going through and you see the community all around, it's a special moment. But more importantly, wanting to share, when the students come across the stage to get their diploma cover, every year I have the same feeling, same reaction. It is amazing to see their faces, their smiles, their beaming, and time again, the number of students that come across not only smiling, but saying thank you and thank you for what Hempfield has done. It comes out of, and I'm not kidding when I say this, probably 99.9% of the students. The 0.1, they're just still beaming, that just the whole experience, but there's such gratitude for everything that's done. And so that to me speaks volumes for all of the work that everybody does to see that kind of culmination. And it reassures me that we're sending our students out into the world in a good place and ready, which is awesome. So we had that event. As we now turn the page, we are starting to prepare for the 25-26 school year. So a lot of work has already begun. As you've heard through building and grounds meetings, work at LMS and LPC, getting new roofs put on, a lot of paving, a lot of other concrete work, a lot of in-building work. We continue the work and project for the high school. Meetings continue to occur for that. We will hold another community forum in the fall. Mrs. Burkholder and the team are working on our roundtable, which will be mailed out to all of our community members, hitting every mailbox within our attendance area, coming up in the next probably month or so. Within that in that roundtable, you're going to find information about the high school project. You're going to find all kinds of success stories, all kinds of accolades, a lot of great anecdotes for our community to see the great things that have happened through the course of the school year. We are also transitioning to a new website. There will be a very soft launch. I'm going to reiterate that, a very soft launch in July. It is a massive undertaking. We have not upgraded websites. I think the last time was 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. 2015, okay, 10 years ago. So this is a big lift to take our current site, move things over. So there's a bunch of individuals working through that. So more information to come as we're going to start to roll that out. We are going to do our best to make sure that when it's fully live, all the information is good, factual. If people find bugs and little kinks with it, we need to know to make those changes. But it's needed and it's time for it. So we're in that process. Also, the other piece I just want to share as we move forward with regards to trainings over the summer with our staff will be in and out through the course of the year. We provide alternative in-service opportunities for our staff. They get to sign up based on different initiatives that are in the district and or in their grade or department. So those are ongoing through the course of the summer. And there's a wide variety of options for individuals. Some of those requirements are state mandates. And as a result of those state mandates, we're all part of those trainings in one way, shape, or another. So there's a lot going on. While the students are not here and a large amount of our staff aren't here, there's still a lot of work going on and people working hard to prepare for the upcoming year. So thank you for all the great work this year and looking forward to a great kickoff in August. Mr. Donato, I'll turn it back to you.
Nothing for the president's report, so we'll go on to the representative and adjunct reports. Lancaster County Career Technology Center, Mr. Keener.
Thank you, Mr. President. The JOC met on Thursday, May 22nd at Mount Joy. Nothing particularly exciting to report. The next meeting will be June 26th at Willow Street.
Thank you. IU 13, Mr. Maris.
Yeah, I met at the board committee meeting, IU, in the second week of May. There is some concerns with budget shortfalls from federal money. There's a lot of planning going on. We're hoping for the best. The June meeting is not until June 25th this month. It's normally the second Wednesday. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Enfield Rec Center, Mrs. Brady.
The full board meeting was held on the 28th of May. It was a full meeting. We discussed the continuing conversations with the design firm Kimmel Bogrett that is working on fine tuning ideas for programming and spaces for their ongoing comprehensive planning for facilities. We discussed some more major repair issues that will be going on over the summer and into early fall, some work on the parking lot and some reinforcements of some steel structural supports. None of that should affect pool use or anything like that over the summer or any of the tennis tournaments. A very, very high level discussion about just the concept of a regional parks commission and I would say a tickler maybe of discussions with the township and surrounding communities to begin thinking about a July 4th, 2026, 250th semi-bicentennial celebration for the United States.
Great.
Oh, and also the flea market over the Memorial Day weekend was a huge success. That's it.
Questions? Thank you, Mrs. Brady. Moving on, safety and security.
Like I was previously mentioned, we had our yearly training for the Act 44 requirements. A lot of positive things happened this year in the district as far as safety and security, and overall, we're heading in the right direction.
Thank you. PSBA, Mrs. Eshelman.
Hi, I was able to look at the PSBA's AI draft policy, since we've been discussing that policy a lot. I really like to see that comparing it to the draft policy we have, you can see that there's a lot of things it has in common and there's lots of overlaps. But you can also see that there are some differences. So I'm appreciative to the administration that's been working on it and doing their due diligence and trying to kind of gather information from everywhere. And I was also able to meet with a professor of AI at Millersville University and speak with him through actually one of the Hempfield teachers who has taken his class. That was extremely informative, and I got a lot of feedback from him on our policy and PSBA's policy. and looking to kind of connect with all of the people that were working on that to continue kind of flushing that out because it is ever changing and will continue changing even after we've agreed on something. And that PSBA will be working on holding some AI trainings that were originally just to be put out for school board leadership, but also we'll be extending it to other leadership like administrators and things like that. So that can be a continuing discussion too as we work on the policy.
Thank you. Moving on to standing committees, buildings and grounds, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, do you
Oh,
want me
I'm
to?
sorry, Mr. Keenan.
Mrs. Eshelman, a follow-up question there. Could you summarize for us the ways that the PSBA policy differs from the one currently under consideration? Because my understanding is that the one that we're working on came from PSBA in the first place.
Ours is a mix of PSBA and the stats.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so
Yeah,
Mrs.
it was,
some of those
it was,
differences, you know this.
yes, and that's what I was saying, that I could tell that just from my own looking at the PSBA policy and then our draft policy, that there are a lot of overlaps. But there are some things that maybe are in one that are not in the other, and so to kind of continue those conversations, I was just trying to do my due diligence and learn more about AI and all of the components of it to maybe see, you know, why something would not be in a policy or would not be appropriate for Hempfield at this time, or maybe we haven't thought of it, just to kind of continue those conversations, because I know policies, once they are set in place. And again, that they're ever changing and AI is ever changing. I feel like once we have a policy in place, it's already going to be out of date. So just continuing those conversations and always trying to keep up on it is something that I think is so important.
We actually have the AI policy scheduled for the June ed programs for a potential first reading. But again, only a potential first reading. If there are other additions or parts from either policy the board would like us to strengthen, we can certainly do that at that time. Or Mrs. Eshelman, if you want to contact me areas of concern, I can have some of that prepared in advance for that meeting.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then moving on to standing committees, buildings and grounds, Mr. Maris.
Yeah, we met back on May 27th, and there was a couple action items I'll just mention that were approved that were not related to buildings and ground. We had a motion to approve the resolution to the General Assembly as presented, and it was voted 9-0 in favor. And we also had a motion to adopt the elementary science curriculum, which passed 8 votes to 1. As far as buildings and grounds, Mrs. James reviewed some the roofing projects at LPC and LMS, paving project, fuel station, and all projects are scheduled to begin on June 9th. So that's yesterday. So I assume they're started. And the administration, along with KCBA and ELA, met with East Hempfield Township on May 28th to discuss the proposed high school project, baseball and softball fields, and other related topics. Mr. Bremersky shared information on the Mountville Youth Athletic Association partnership. And Mr. Graham talked about the potential stage renovations at LPC and CMS. We talked about those details and we decided to postpone the lighting renovations and proceed with the stage renovations. And an updated capital projects plan will be, with the updated costs, will be on the June agenda for approval. So I assume that's on the agenda. And then Mr. Graham also discussed information regarding a change order requiring approval for the installation of the paging system at LMS and LPC. And we also approved some change orders as action items. That concludes my report.
Questions? Okay, finance, Mr. Wadsworth.
2 items. We have a number of contracts on the agenda tonight for approval, and we discussed those. And then we had a lively discussion about the tax rate for the upcoming year, and that will be continued tonight. That concludes my report.
Okay, education and programs, Mrs. Johnson.
We had We had a discussion about the new science curriculum. It's still on display here if you're interested. We approved K-5, Great Minds, but it's PhD is the name of the program. And sixth grade will be Twigs, which will facilitate the transition from sixth grade elementary into seventh grade science. Do you have anything else to add, Dr. Dan? Thank you. Oh, and there's no meeting for our committee in July.
Okay, policy, personnel, and legal, Mr. Keener.
Thank you, Mr. Nato. Policy Personnel and Legal also met on May 15th. There were several policies reviewed for first and second read. As indicated on the agenda, several of them will be voted on later tonight.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to personnel action items, request a motion to approve personnel action items B and C. B is the normal list of resignations, transfers, hires. C is to give Mr. Roberski permission to employ staff as needed to fill vacancies that were budgeted for during the summer.
Mr. Donato, just to clarify, will that be subject to ratification by the board
Yes,
at a later meeting?
at a later time, correct?
I basically send them acknowledging that, yes, this job is for you and it will be voted on later. It allows, if they're willing to give notice earlier, but that's up to the respective employee.
Okay. Need a motion to approve personnel action items B and C, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any additional discussion?
I'm curious about item K, Ms. Tamayo, the senior accountant. That comes as a surprise. Is she?
She took a promotion in another district.
I'm sorry?
She took a promotion in another district.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Mrs. Eshelman?
Sorry, hands raised.
Thank you. Motion carries 9-0. Moving on to buildings and grounds action items, need a motion to approve the amended capital projects plan.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Maris. Any discussion?
Just
Mr.
curious,
Keenan.
what changed to this plan? Is it the numbers and just finalized or?
We had better numbers for the LPC and CMS
So it's just,
projects.
it's just
It was-
number updates?
Yeah, it was what Mr. Graham presented. We just updated the actual document.
And to be clear, we're not approving these expenditures. We're just recognizing that this is the plan.
You're approving the
We're
plan.
not actually committing to any of this, right?
I mean, we'll bring every project forward before we,
I'm
like
sorry?
whoever we're using, we'll have a contract. Do you have a contract on tonight for those? Yeah, they're on the contracts list.
Yes.
Well, some of the other ones, but those are approved separately as well.
As a point of clarity, I thought we had removed the lighting. Is that insignificant that it's just listed there under those two projects?
Stage lighting.
Differently.
So the lighting that's listed as part of the stage and curtains was not part of that other project? Am I just, okay. Okay.
Right.
All right, perfect. I just want to clear that up. Thank you.
Yep, and it's simply accepting the plan so that it reflects what was moved into the proper year, and then all the work that gets done still get brought to you in future meetings through contracts, et cetera. So as Mrs. Hall shared.
Okay, so to re-ask my question, the future work, the phase 2 and phase 3 work, is this vote to formally approve these as indicated, or simply to say they are now on the schedule and board will at some later point give the formal approval?
Your second part, and those have been approved on this plan prior. The only changes were to the stage projects.
Okay.
So those were accepted. As we do those projects, we're going to bring those back for separate vote.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I believe we have a motion and second. All those in favor? Okay, and Mrs. Ashland's in favor. Motion carries 9-0. Okay, moving on to the financial action items, and we will do this separately. First one is approval for the budget for the upcoming 25-26 school year, and would need approval, need a motion to approve financial items B, C, and D.
I'd like to make a motion to, amend a motion for a 4.0% tax increase instead of 4.3.
And Mr. Mayor, as a friendly, would that motion also include adjusting the other
Correct.
numbers
Correct,
to correspond to the 4.0 increase?
correct.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
Okay. Discussion?
I don't really have anything to say. I think, I prefer to be lower than that, but that was a number I could have lived with at the time as well on the high end. And then to break some of the stalemate we had, I was willing to move at that time, but I would support something like that as well. I believe it's reasonable. I believe it puts us in line with, and we will still be appropriately okay moving into the year.
I would just comment that I would not be in favor of that, and that we had a majority that were willing to settle at 4.3 at our last meeting, and that would be my minimum.
Other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do you have a?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we have to reopen public
That's where I
comment.
was gonna go.
because we've Amended the agenda.
That's where I was gonna go. Because this is a financial change. So it would need to open it up for those in the public who would wish to speak about that.
So would it be better to go with what's currently there, and then if that doesn't pass, then you open it up, or do you want to open up now?
But we have a motion and a second, so I think
Yeah,
we need to move forward with that, and then it will eventually go to a vote.
I'm not certain, since this item was on the agenda and the public had an opportunity to comment on the budget and chose not to, I'm not certain that we do need to reopen.
But,
The reopening applies only to new agenda items.
right, but it's a change on the agenda from what was posted publicly at a 4.3%.
I don't think that's correct. So,
Well,
I have no problem opening up to the public to make a comment.
Sunshine?
yeah,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with doing it. We don't have to do it.
No, I
think
think
we
it
should
makes
do it.
sense to do that. I mean, it's not a big deal to do
Just
that.
from a sunshine standpoint, I think it makes sense just to do it.
Okay.
So that we don't end up in a situation where we have to go back and we're now even delaying time because I'll wait till the next step, but.
I mean, the public's welcome to comment. I think we all have, vetted this to the nth degree, so you feel free to share if it helps you feel better, but I'm not sure it's going to change any of the outcomes for the decision, but for what it's worth.
Once again, Charles offered a change, and that's what we're voting on, to change it to 4% from what is on the agenda, which is 4.3%. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And could that be withdrawn, that motion, as we've done in a recent past meeting?
It
It could
can,
be-
and
I'm not-
They would have to
Withdraw it.
withdraw it.
Yeah, I'm not going to withdraw it.
So we have a motion and a second. Are you going to open it up,
Any-
Mr. President?
Yes.
I have another question.
Okay.
If this particular motion does not pass, then we can introduce
Then
another
we go
motion.
to the motion.
All right,
and-
thank you.
That's exactly right.
Anticipate if this motion was not passed, there will be subsequent motions.
I just wanted to clarify, Mr. Keener, what the process might be. Thank
I
you.
guess we'll have to go just step by step.
Just wanted to know what those were.
There you go.
Anyone like to speak?
I'll run a timer for 5 minutes and let you know.
Hold on one moment.
You may begin.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I mean, not really any surprise that I'm speaking about this, considering how many times I've spoken on it before. Also, as you guys have said, I doubt anything I say is going to change any of your minds, but I might as well try. As I like to say to my wife and kids, you never know unless you ask. Just as a reminder, a 0.3% increase is, I think, about $270,000 for the year. I think it was about 900,000 for a 1%-ish. Also, the average taxpayer, not average, median taxpayer would only be going up probably $10 to $20 for the full year on a 0.3%. And also as a reminder, even at the 4.3, we are very likely to have to borrow, or not borrow, but take out of the unreserved funds, which means, you know, we're spending more than we're taking in, which is not good financial practice. We're also then betting on the federal government and the state government to continue to fund at the level that they are, which with everything going on is very much not guaranteed. In fact, I would even be surprised if the state isn't able to continue at the level that they're at. Not thinking that it's likely that they won't, but with everything going on, I wouldn't be surprised. So just take all of that into account. I know it feels uncomfortable for 4.3. Just a reminder that Act 1 index is likely going to be down for the next several years. I think one of the board members expressed a couple of months, or in one of the previous meetings, that in the 28-29 school year, we probably will not have enough Act 1 index to be able to do the meet the obligations of the CBA, as well as the financial plan for the high school. And that's not including any other financial commitments that may come up, support staff, other curriculum, et cetera, et cetera. So by building this in now, you're helping the boards of the future to be able to have a easier chance at balancing their budget. So thank you for your time.
I had a couple comments.
Mr. Adams, hold, we still
I'm
have some
sorry,
other-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they were done.
You may begin.
Thanks. So I don't like to speak without having something prepared in advance, so this is going to be very brief. But just two comments. One is that I've been sitting in these meetings week after week, and I've been finding it frustrating when members of the board say that the difference in money is so minimal that it's not going to matter. Because going by that, like if my family can only put aside $50 a month, then why bother, right? Because the money does eventually add up. So even if it is only a small amount, it does matter. It is eventually going to make a difference in the district's budget. And also, I just wanted to say that the comment that public comment isn't going to make a difference feels a little bit concerning. Chances are we're probably not going to sway anybody's mind, but public comment should honestly always matter because you represent us. So you should always want to hear our comments, and our comments really should always matter. And I just felt that I needed to say something about that. Thanks.
Anyone else from the audience? Okay, then we'll go on.
Okay, so I'm fairly certain we're going to get those adequacy funds. And if we get those and the federal funds, 4.3 will give us a 231,000 excess. 4.0 would be almost even, 55,000 under. If we only get the adequacy funds, there is a deficit. At 4.3 is 70,000, 4.0 of 354,000. The reality is we usually do better than we predict, and I will predict again that with Mike and Karen's good financial stewardship, we will do 250 to 500,000 better than we predict. Although a lot of this was due to grants over the past 5 years, we've had an excess of $15 million. So not all that was due to grants, but we did charge more taxes than we needed to. It's all a matter of balancing the budget. We're representing our taxpayers, we're representing our school. Things change. Somebody talked about the future in the public comment. Well, all things can change. And as a school district and as a board, we have to be adaptable. I think it's better to have a little shortage than it is an excess, especially when the past 5 years we've had excesses, surpluses. I don't like to take more money than we need. We're in great financial shape. I think $50 million capital reserve, $86 million total reserves. Our regular reserves what's it called, Karen? What's that?
Unassigned.
Unassigned is 11.3 million. If we have to take a few $100,000 out of that, it's not the end of the world. That's my 2 cents.
And I would,
Sorry. Sir, sorry, sir, this is, you had an opportunity. With public discussion, we don't. Mr. Wallamuth, I believe you.
I've said this comment before, but we've been entrusted with the tax dollars, and I feel a deep sense of responsibility to be good stewards of those tax dollars. I believe there's been limited focus, and this isn't pointing fingers at administration or past boards or the current board or administration, on our expenses side. And I'll leave it at that. I believe we need to do a better job of not just taxing the taxpayers, but being good stewards of every dollar that we've been given. We've been good stewards, but we can be much better stewards, and that will bridge that gap. The second thing I'd like to say is I feel like people wanting to go to the tax index, which this board had a number of people that wanted to go to 6.3% last year and go, that was the index, the highest level. And again, 4.8% this year, the highest level, 11.1% tax increase to the taxpayers of this community and businesses in 2 years. Then they want to go to the index indefinitely going forward. At the end of the day, I spoke to somebody in the community who had an example of someone, single mother, who is struggling just to pay her heating bill. Forgive me for saying this, but it seems like those of you that just want to throw the dollars around, like it's not that much money to add another $50 or $100 to the year. It is a lot of money when somebody's living paycheck to paycheck. And forgive me if I'm concerned about that to some degree. I believe we need to be better stewards of what we've been given. When you look at the tax rates in this county, and I'm not all about comparing us to everyone else, you can clearly see that if we go to 4.3%, we will be the highest increase to date that we have on record for this year.
Mr. Keener.
I'd like to put a final point on a comment that Mrs. Jevons made. And it's exactly what Mr. Walkemuth just said. We have got to stop saying that these increases are small, that they don't impact people. Mrs. Jevons made that point very articulately. Mr. Walkemuth just made it. We sit here and we say, oh, $50 a month doesn't matter. $100 a year doesn't matter. It matters to people in our community. It matters to Mrs. Jevons. It matters to the person that Mr. Walkemuth just talked about. And that's what we need to be mindful of.
Mrs. Brady.
2 comments. First, I'd like to reinterpret what Mrs. Jevons was saying, and I did think she said it clearly. She was using an
I
example.
can't hear you, Mrs. Brady.
I said, I'm just trying to clarify what I heard Mrs. Jevons saying, which I don't believe Mr. Keener heard the same way. I heard her saying not that raising taxes by a little bit doesn't matter, but that anything you do financially, when you do a little bit, we're always told, put a little bit away, save a little bit, it matters, it adds up. And I think that is, I hope I'm not misrepresenting you, but that the fact that we should be doing any little incremental bit more to aid our district to put into our coffers, because a little bit does go a long way as far as our, I'll just say earnings, our intake of services. Second point, I'd like to clarify, Mr. Wolgemuth, I believe he was referring to my vote last year about the Act One index and my leanings this year. Had we gone to the Act One index fully last year, I would not have had to support a full Act One index this year. The point is, we did not utilize that opportunity last year, and that is why I had to go for the higher index this year, because each year it is slipping away our ability to gain that from Act One and to have sufficient funds in our budgets going forward. Additionally, I just want to say that we entrust our administration to formulate a budget each year. They spend countless hours doing that, refining it, sending back for cuts. And this is what they've presented to us as what they believe are the needs of the district. And I'd like to respect those recommendations.
Mrs. Eshelman?
Thank you. I'd also like to say, and just, put my opinion out there, is that additional money per month does matter. It matters to individuals in our community. It matters to everyone in our community. And that little bit a month also matters to our school district collectively. And so I think it's important to know that we have a community that even if they can give a little bit every month for a larger cause, which is our school district, which is the future of our school district, which is why many of us moved to this school district, that money is important and that it provides for our district and our community and our students and everyone who lives here. And it is important, like people keep saying it's important. I have a different perspective on how it's important. And again, knowing that the Act One index only is going down in the future, and after last year, it went down a significant amount, is why I continue to advocate for what our administrators asked for and needed to balance our budget, which was 4.8% this school year. Thank you.
In my mind, we have to balance things. And if we go to the Act One index every year, the administration, the teachers, everyone will think, well, we're going to get that, so we don't have to try to cut expenditures. Mr. Wolgemuth is totally correct. We have to balance things and we have to live within a budget. We have taxpayers that are basically at our mercy, okay? This isn't a business where they're stockholders. They live in their houses, and especially people that are living paycheck to paycheck, and older people are living on fixed incomes. Yeah, 1 year is not a big deal, but when you do it year after year after year, it compounds and it makes a big difference.
Sir,
You can-
sir,
excuse
sorry, you
me.
cannot make comments during the meeting.
Um,
Anyone else?
Yes, I've sat here trying to decide if I want to say anything or not, and I decided what the heck. Last year, I wanted wanted us to, I proposed a 4% increase, not a 6.3, but a reasonable 4%. Knowing that we were going to have a building project, knowing that we were going to have to contract negotiations, our administrators and our support staff, which by the way are hourly wage people for the most part, we're going to need raises. I am one person here I live on a fixed income. My husband doesn't like it when I go home and say, oh, this is the new tax rate. And he's like, Linda, don't do that. But I'm very conscious of the fact that we have a lot of kids who get free lunches because of what the poverty level and free lunch requirements are. I am very aware of how many food banks are in East and West Hempfield, and across the county, in fact. I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware of the needs out in the community. We also here at the district level, we have responsibilities to take care of our buildings, to provide safe and adequate facilities for our children to be educated in. We have a responsibility to pay our employees reasonably, be able to provide health care, et cetera, all those benefits. We didn't go to Act 1 last year, by the way, and 4.3 is not Act 1. It's kind of a compromise. And so I will be supporting 4.3. I will not vote for the 4% increase.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, so if I can just clarify something, statement in terms of people, administration, staff will just expect that that's what we get. I just want to clarify, that's not how we approach budgeting.
I understand that,
So
but it builds an environment that, oh, we're gonna go to the max every year, and so people
Right.
come to inspect it.
I just want to clarify that that's not how we approach budgeting. and What we
Understood.
bring to you, we do look at what we have, where we can scale back, where we could reduce costs, and we do all of that on the
Right.
front end before we bring it to you. So I just want to
I
clarify.
wasn't
that
referring
because
to you. In fact, you and Mrs. Hall have done a great job and have always done better than budgeted, I believe.
It's not about it, it's just the statement in terms of the administration and staff will just expect it. We don't expect it. We realize through this process that this is a natural conversation every year. And I think historically, it's shown that there is a lot of discussion back and forth and we work through that. So I just wanted to clarify your statement.
No, I
Yep.
totally,
And I
totally
want
agree with you.
to say that our administration, our teaching staff, our professional staff aren't aware of the dollars and cents that we need to cut. There's always a place to cut. And I believe the administration has been diligent to do that and to work with that. We kept that in mind as we voted on, I forget which number, for the $211 million high school project. It was number 2. But we were very aware of that and aware of the fact that we're going to have to borrow money. We're going to have to pay that money back. We're going to have a debt burden. We have to take care of our property and we have to take care of our people. And we have to do that in a reasonable way. And I think in the end, everybody understands that. So to say, I've been on the board for 8 years, I know I've said this several times, we have never, ever gone to the Act 1 index. Never. We have been, when I've been on the board, we haven't done that. Am I wrong?
No, I was just going to say the Act 1 index is the ceiling, just as a reminder. You don't have to go to the ceiling every time.
I am fully aware of what the Act 1 is, but I believe there have been statements saying that we have gone to the Act 1 index. I just want to point that out. We have not. We have
No.
been very conscious and very careful about our tax indexes, how we've spent money, how we've set aside money for the I've already forgotten the name of the money that is the spend account as needed and for in capital reserves. Finally, we're to the point where we've done, Mrs. James has done a great job, a great job finally whittling down that list where we're like, okay, now it's time to start that all over again. It costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time to take care of our facilities. I just want to make sure that the information that we're saying and putting out is correct. We can have our positions. I think we've done a good job. We have had some surpluses. We have had that. And that means if we have surpluses and they go into these reserves, then that means, I don't know, makes an interest payment. Maybe we don't have to borrow as much. We've
Mrs.
never
Johnson.
gone to Act 1. And I
Mrs.
do know
Johnson.
what Act 1 is.
As a point of clarity, though, There was nothing that was said that we went to the Act One index every year. I said there were 4 board members last year that desired to go to 6.3. That
not
was where they
to
stood.
you.
And then this year, we had 4 board members again, at minimum, who were interested in the 4.8 to start. So I wasn't suggesting that the board has gone to the index. I was suggesting there are board members last year and this year that wanted to go to the index, totaling 11.1%.
But
Also-
sorry.
Also, Mrs. Johnston, I want to remind you that 1.81% is already in the budget to pay for the high school building. And we are going to do a similar amount over 6 years. So we don't need to tax beyond that. And that's one of the reasons our tax is higher, because we're doing that to be able to afford the high school. So we don't need extra money towards the high school because we're going to borrow that. And we also have a healthy reserve of $50 million.
Mr. President, I don't want to cut the
Again.
conversation short, but are we ready to take this to a vote?
Any other discussion?
I would just say that when the debt for the new high school falls off, there are other major projects that will need to come on board. So it's not as if that's going to go away.
Well, I think we've identified a lot of those and they're part of the phase 2, I believe, phase 2 and phase 3. And they're part of that 50 million. So I think after we get those and we get the high school project, we're going to be in good shape. Now we know we have Centerville Elementary,
Exactly.
but I mean, we'll probably have to borrow for that too.
Right.
Can I
This
ask
is-
a question? Thank you. I was going to ask Mr. Bomerski, if you don't have the number off the top of your head, I'm so sorry for asking. Last year, do you know what the administration's recommendation percentage was? Was it the Act One index last year? To balance the budget.
Can somebody repeat?
I believe,
the question?
Mrs. Eshelman, if I heard you correctly, you're asking what was the administration's recommendation last year based on the Act One index? Last year's Act One adjusted.
Not based on the Act, not based
Right.
on the Act One index, but just based on your budget.
The adjusted
proposed
index
budget.
was 6.3, and I believe we were initially in the 4 range. And then we worked through other pieces and we were able to balance it at the end at 3.5.
3.5 was.
I
Three,
believe,
five.
I believe our budget was 3.5 tax increase and we balanced the budget. We did not go in the red last year.
Correct.
If I remember.
Yes, that was voted on, but it wasn't the initial recommendation. But
Initially,
the
it was
initial,
4 range, and then as we worked through other additional pieces, we had it down to 3.5. That included millage built in for the potential, at that point, potential high school project, as well as closing up the budget.
And if I remember correctly, even this year, we started your budget, your first budget was much higher than what we currently
Correct.
do, which is
We were-
normally how it goes. We start with a higher number, we look at the budget and we whittle it down.
Right, we were over
yes, because,
the index this year.
Yep.
And so we're at 4.8, and 4.3, we recognize 475,000 deficit going in. This is Hall, as she prepared the 2028 form. It shows that it would come out of fund balance from a deficit standpoint, but as I shared with you at the last meeting, we'll work through the school year to do our best to try and manage the costs. The big unknown is the state and federal dollars. We just don't know.
You put the federal in, but didn't have the state in,
We-
correct?
We flat funded everything from last year,
Okay,
but we don't know
I-
what's going to come out or what will come our way.
sure.
Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
Am I?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, thank you for clarifying the difference between the Act One index, what you guys go through and prepare asking budget wise, and then the additional work you do to then, I'm referring to last year, the 3.5, the additional work then you do to get it down to the tax level that it was increased. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thanks.
No, Mr. Mayor, did you, am I correct that you have some information that suggests that the adequacy funding is likely? to
I can't say for sure, but there's a good idea that we're going to get those funds.
Yeah.
But I can't say for sure.
Where's your
But I think it's very likely.
Okay, thank you.
I would I'd be willing to bet on it. And I'm not a
Not
betting
much-
man.
You're not much of a gambler, are you, Mr. Maris?
I am not much a gambler, but I bet on that one.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of opposed? Mrs. Eshelman, motion fails.
Mr. President, I motion that we amend the millage rate to 4.2% and adjust the other budget items in B through D as appropriate.
Do I have a second? Okay, hearing no.
I'll second that.
Okay, hearing a second. Okay, we have now down to 4.2%. Anyone like to comment from the public? Because we have to offer that option again. Okay, hearing nothing, discussion? Okay, no discussion.
You know, I've been sitting here thinking about this. I've talked to a lot of you one-on-one. In fact, most of you have called me, texted me, emailed me. What are you?
Mr. Wagner, I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay.
You can't hear you.
All right. I've been thinking about this a lot, obviously, and I've talked to a lot of you. A lot of you have reached out to me because let's face it, I'm the swing vote, right? The last meeting, I liked 4.25, 4.25. I really, I, in my heart, I don't want to go above 4. In my heart, I don't want to go above 3.5. That's true. And historically, I've been in the minority on what has actually become the vote, because I'm typically lower than pretty much everyone that's ever sat at the table. This year is different to me, for a number of reasons. I think, yeah, I mean, uncertainty is one of them, right? Which, although Mr. Maris might have a crystal ball that nobody else can look into, I don't know if I want to take that bet. So I want to be careful doing that. I think that in the past years, we haven't had, we have not been staring down the barrel of 9 figures worth of facility needs. We have that today. I think when I think about somebody that's fiscally conservative, which I certainly am, I also understand that a core fundamental of fiscal conservatism is that you stay out of debt or you try to reduce or get out of your debt. Well, last time I checked, the best way to do that is never get in there in the first place. And so when I think about what the indexes look like over the next coming years, right, as well as uncertainty, as well as the things that we have ahead of us that we've never had before. Over the last 15 years, there's only been 3 times we've actually taxed above what, up 1.5 points, I think, right? If my memory serves, right? And they were the last 3 years, right? 3.5, 2.5, 3.5, 2.5, 2.5, 3.5. I think the last 3. Before that, it was 1.0375 was the average over the previous 11, right? So as I think about where we are today, and I think about what we have tomorrow, I get concerned if something down the road that is unforeseeable happens and we end up having to come up with 7 figures worth of cash to settle anything or get ourselves out of a hole that we may or may not get into. I think the smart thing to do right now is to continue with what we planned on last meeting. I think 4.3, Mr. Maris mentioned balance, and the word balance has been mentioned a few times here tonight. It was last meeting as well. And at 4.3, that's exactly what happens is you strike a balance. If we don't want to be cutting things and getting rid of things, right? Then we would absolutely be looking to do that if we go too low. I'm also of the mindset, and I've said this publicly before, yes, I'm concerned about our tax base as residential, but I'm also concerned about our commercial, our business, and our agricultural tax base as well, because they're also affected. And so for me, it becomes the more you impact the rest of the tax base, what happens is the rest of the community gets impacted, and that ripple effect becomes bigger. That ripple effect becomes wider. right? And so suddenly now the cup of coffee, the cheesesteak, the pair of running sneakers, the socks, right? Everything that we now buy is now impacted. And so, yes, it's about me being the taxpayer, the homeowner, and the person that has to write a check that I don't want to write. That's why I want to keep it as low as possible. 4.8 doesn't allow me to do that, right? But I also think that 3.8 or 4 or, you know, or anything that's lower than what has been voted on so far, or at least what's been discussed last meeting, I think strikes the right balance. I think going too low puts us in jeopardy unnecessarily. So, in the spirit of being fiscally conservative and thinking about the future, I'm sticking with 4.3.
Mrs. Hall and Mr. Bomersky, I know we've kind of weighed heavily on these predicted Act One indices, and I seem to recall they're somewhat changeable. Have either of you looked at how those indices as predicted end up, and are they usually spot on, or are they sometimes vary?
So
'Cause-
I don't have what was done before. I've been in this position for 2 years and I've been tracking them since then. They've been on target since they started to release them.
But that's just for a
I'll
couple
continue to
couple
watch
years.
the IFO. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the historic is. I'm not sure where I'd even find those at this point.
Yeah. Is it reasonable to believe if districts are struggling or something financial in the communities that they may raise those indices?
Well, I mean,
Because they raised them obviously last year coming out of COVID and a really high inflation. And I'm thinking if the economy would take a downturn again, they would probably go up.
it's.
Or if the economy gets better, they'll probably stay where they're at, or maybe can they even go lower?
All of that is possible.
Okay. But if the economy's doing well, we're probably getting good revenues and we probably don't need that additional to go to that max index. So I'm just thinking those indices are not hard, fast numbers and they can change.
One concern I have about all this, which I brought up the last time, I don't see the state balancing their budget soon. And what really concerns me, and you mentioned it in your IU report, that they're concerned about finances. I'm sure the IU receives a lot more federal dollars.
Well, they're a total different animal than we are. They depend so much on federal money. We depend very little on federal money. So totally night and day.
But we get services from them. And if they don't get the federal money, we had services from them, so they're gonna have to charge us more. We can't, special education doesn't go away. If the federal government does not give any more to special education, the state is not going to have more to give to us. That really is a concern. Because again, no matter what is a board, we're legally responsible to provide special education services and meet the kids' IEPs. And if we don't, the state could come in and say, we don't really care what you want or say.
I think there's enough checks and balances that they're not just going to throw us under the rug. They're going to.
Who's not going to throw us under the bus? Again, the state has nothing.
Well, the state will fight with the federal government as they do. So I think to say it's doomsday and all this stuff is overreaction. Mr. Bomersky, you're looking like maybe I'm saying something
I don't
wrong.
think we don't know. I think that's the difficulty right now. And the uncertainty of all of it is everything that we are relying on in terms of what's coming from the state, in terms of state dollars and pass-through dollars from the federal government to the state. That is all out of our hands to decide. That's up to our elected legislators at the federal level and at the state level. Right now, I was just on a call on Monday in terms of from a legislative standpoint. Everything federal is still uncertain at this point. At the state level, I was told don't expect a budget being done by June. Just don't expect it. Positive side is that people are at the table and they're talking. That's a good thing. But they've not hit their target in terms of the responsibility of getting the budgets done. And that's part of this difficulty that we have as school systems
and
because
it's-
we do a budget before we know what we're getting from the
It's the
state.
most ridiculous thing, and unfortunately, we've gotten extra money because we've had to tax more than we needed to over the years because of that issue, and it's very frustrating.
Right.
So that's a boat we're in that none of us can be happy with, the fact that we don't know how much we're getting from the state, we don't know how much, so we're supposed to go ahead and pass a budget, and then
Correct.
if we get too much, well, we're not going to give the money back to the taxpayers.
The piece that we have allocated from a reserve standpoint, yes, we have our unassigned, which can't exceed more than 8%. Everything else is either committed or assigned, whether it's to capital projects, improvements that need to be done. While there's no, in a sense, what we have, the plan that was accepted, we're working through phase 1, those items were approved. Items phase 2 and 3 are to come, and those dollars are allocated for that. But we just don't know, and so that's why we flat fund, and we can't, I mean, unless you direct us otherwise, we are not building in any additional revenue from the state.
So, Mr. Pamuski, I'd like to thank you for that helpful information. With regard to the call that you were talking
Yeah.
about, I think we can certainly agree, we hear about the same things you
Yeah.
do, that a budget by June 30th is unlikely.
Yeah.
But on that call, or through any of your other sources of information,
Yeah.
have you received information about whether the adequacy funds will, or are likely or are not likely?
At this point, everything I'm hearing is everything is still up for debate and everything is on the table. Advocacy, I mean,
That's
that's
true, because the
but-
budget hasn't
right.
passed.
But what I'm hearing is, we look back over the last 2 years, and I'm gonna switch off of adequacy funds first and get to cyber charter reform. We've been advocating hard for several years around cyber charter reform. A huge push last year. We heard it was getting close to the finish line, and then it bombed. It didn't occur, it didn't get passed. This year, an even heavier push on cyber charter reform. When you engage in conversations with legislators, regardless of party, everyone explains and talks about the importance of doing this. Yet out of the House, a bill was passed along partisan lines, some for it, those against it, which doesn't bode well for it when it goes to the Senate for compromise to get that bill done. The same thing then comes in place in terms of adequacy funds. The adequacy funds that were offered last year as a result of the lawsuit, but they were clear, one-time funds. While we did build in the budget, what we received last year, yes, the governor proposed additional funds to maintain what was recommended in that report. That's all still negotiable through this budget process. And what we're hearing is if this, then this type scenarios. And so there is no consensus at this point that those dollars are staying in. There's no consensus, even though people will talk about it. When action comes on the floor, we're not seeing consensus at this point. I heard directly from Representative Cutler, Representative Schweier, the chairs of the House, like literally directly from them. Yes, the adequacy funds are unwritten mandates, if you will. Yet everybody's still fighting over them, and no one will commit to saying, yes, it's going to be done, because they know they have leverage to try and push and pull in other things. So if they don't get what they want, they're going to put something else back on the table. So literally everything right now in Harrisburg is up in the air. And we just don't know where they're going to come out on any side of any of this. I am hopeful, but I'm not willing to bet at this point that we're going to get those funds. Because what I'm seeing right now at the state is I am losing more and more confidence in cyber charter reform. And there's been a heck of a lot more focus on that than the adequacy dollars. And that out of anything, I would like to see someone sit in front of a school board, a public school board, to advocate while the cyber charters can do things differently than the public schools. And yet everybody talks about it, but no one's willing to have the action. So if that simple thing can't get fixed, and to me that's simple, because they are public schools taking public dollars, make them apples to apples. If that can't get fixed, I'm not sure how adequacy is going to happen, because that was very much party line, partisan politics, for what that's worth.
Mr. Bramerski, you shared with me that they get at $8,000 per student, we'd get $1 million a year, correct?
Yes, and what we hear is that number is too low. That number is not too low.
So how much do we end up paying out of our pockets for the
Right
cyber-
now, we
Yeah.
pay about $13,000 to $14,000 on a cyber charter and about 27 to 29,000 for a special ed cyber charter student.
So what is our total spend for all those students?
We're about 1.5, no, 2.6 million, 2.5 million. that
Wow.
Ballpark.
That'd be a nice break, huh?
But I will say our cyber charter numbers are lower today than they were during COVID, and we're paying more today. We shouldn't be.
I heard, and this is just rumor, but I heard that cyber charter is a lot less likely than adequacy funds. So
Yeah.
that's just an opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you from that standpoint, but from a school standpoint, it's hard to understand that
Yeah, absolutely.
when you look at the results.
I mean, the state should have their budget before we adopt our budget. It's the craziest thing when I first came on the board. Are you kidding me? And it makes it difficult for us to make important decisions here.
What I would say, and when you're discussing this with individuals or legislators, and this goes for anyone on the board and the public, they need to come out and say right out of the gate, yes, this is going to be in, schools can count on this. But it's part of the negotiation process. That's what we have to live with. That's what we have at this point. So that's why we have to make the decision we have.
Okay, there was any other questions?
I have one question, and this is for Mrs. Hall or Mr. Ramirsky, whoever wants to take it on. I remember vaguely, this is last meeting, Mr. Ramirsky, I think you mentioned something about, let's be honest, we have a good problem to have. It's actually not a good, we have a good thing that not a lot of other districts have, which is an incredible tax base that tend to pay their taxes like
On time.
immediately, right? The second they get the bill, right? If we, and obviously when we get that money in hand, we make money off of that money as opposed to if we didn't receive it till September, October, November, December. Can you speak to what kind of impact that would have if we, let's say we move the vote tonight to 4-1, 4-2, 4-8, 3-2. I don't pick a number. Bottom line is you move that number. What happens in terms of being able to get that same amount of money in hand as fast? Does that impact our ability to be able to, does that impact our finances at all?
So if we don't approve a budget tonight and we have to re-advertise and vote on it at the finance committee meeting, it will delay the tax bills. So it will delay the money coming in and the interest that we can earn on that money. That's kind of where the delay, I think, Mr. Burmerson spoke to that at last meeting.
That's what brought it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about that last. It was a fleeting moment, but
Correct. And Mrs. Hall, the 2028 form that was on public display
Yes.
was done at a 4-0. And then there was a change from the last meeting to 4-3. And so what the board has to vote on tonight was the new 2028 on the 4-3.
Correct.
So if there's a change tonight, we have to go back and redo those,
As well as the homestead farmstead
Homestead
exclusion, change
farmstead.
that as well.
and then that'll come back later this month. Correct?
so then tax bills don't go out for what, another week, 2 weeks, month?
So they typically go out.
I mean, they have it
First week of
template
July.
set up, but once they get our information, then the county sends them out. So,
Got it.
I mean, it takes
Takes time.
I mean, I'm assuming, Mrs. Hall, they're not printed yet because
They are not printed because we don't have a tax.
whatever the
increase.
number we come up with is going to be how they're printed.
Yeah, I never said that wasn't happening. I said if it gets printed much later, they'll be delayed in mailing. That's all I was saying.
And do we need to redo anything in terms of what was done if there is a change tonight in
Well,
terms of re-advertising?
Well, I don't know. That is a great question for the solicitor. I'm not entirely sure if we're changing all what we had posted in the agenda. I can't answer that.
I don't know
I've
because it
not
was not a
looked into that.
formal vote. And so, I mean, I may be wrong, but
What's in our phone?
it was not a formal vote last time on that 4.3. It was simply discussion to get something out.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
we did not take a vote.
I didn't say that you did. What I.
Oh, no, I agree. You didn't say that, but my point is back to the fact of re-advertising and things like that. It's a little different if it's a discussion item.
But this isn't a discussion item. So I had to advertise for the final vote, which is happening tonight. if all these
Ms. Hall, I'm
documents.
sorry, could you, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, I can't, it's so close.
You're saying if we wouldn't come to a decision tonight, then you would have to re-advertise, correct? But if we come to a decision tonight, there wouldn't be any advertisement surrounding this.
What I don't know is because what was on display is a different number than what is potentially going to be approved. I don't know if we have to go back and put it on at a later meeting. That, I'm-
Cross that bridge when we get there, because we didn't vote on this yet.
And Mrs. Hall, am I correct? What was on display was 4.0, right?
no, what has been on this board agenda that was
4.3.
public is 4.3.
Well, when you advertised the preliminary budget, what was that based on?
You don't advertise a preliminary budget. You just put it on display. So you passed a
That's what I
resolution.
mean, yeah.
That was a 4.0. Then
Yep.
we.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, but yeah.
I'm not sick, but it's still 4.3 in the board agenda. That's all I'm saying.
It was put out at 4.3, but it was not a voted decision. So if we make a decision tonight, there should be no reason that that has to be re-advertised.
It might have to be.
I mean, I would absolutely want to check on that because that was not a voted number that was set in stone. That was a discussion item in the finance committee to
That's
move
not-
forward.
Yeah,
It is
and
what's on the
as
agenda.
well, we have changed the number many times during this meeting. I mean, this is not the first
I don't
time
know that I've ever
that we
seen
have changed the
during
number.
during the final vote. I have not personally seen that.
So-
My first year here, we did move it to committee and the bills did go out late.
I'm sorry?
I said, I don't know that I've seen that happen in the meeting where we're approving the final budget, that it's changed. Mr. Romersky, am I wrong? Because I do recall maybe the first year I was here,
Yes.
was not in this position, that we had to move it to the finance committee and the
Correct.
bills went out late.
They did. Because everything was pushed because there was not consensus at this meeting in a sense,
I
it
don't
moved
remember
to the end of the
exactly what
month.
happened.
Therefore, things were delayed, so.
And if the bills go out late and compounded with the fact that if the state doesn't pass their budget in a timely manner, we still have to come up with the money without the state funds in hand to pay our bills to bridge that gap, and then we might not have our funds in time. I mean, I'm going down the
Yeah, I'm
worst
not-
case
I'm
scenario.
not so
path.
worried about that. What I'm worried about is the interest income that we leave on.
Interest.
And is that built into the budget? In a sense?
Well, the interest income is,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And I just, if I understand Mrs. Brady's concern, it's that if there is a delay in sending a tax bill, we won't get the money fast enough. And what I have heard from the administration in the past, and Mrs. Hall and Mr. Bomersky can correct me, is that since so many taxpayers, since most people pay their bills shortly after they're received, the revenue is very front-loaded. So regardless of whether the money comes in July or August 1, it doesn't affect the operation of the district because the budget is so
Yeah.
front-loaded. Am I correct about that, Mr. Bomersky?
That's what I just.
The interest.
Yes.
But the interest off that money is what is the other piece of
Correct.
that. It's a shortfall of income.
Yes.
Was I not here? I just said everything y'all just said. You guys can say it again. I mean, it sounds great to hear.
I didn't
You're validating my point. No.
Well, I think you were talking more about the interest lost. You were talking about operating the district, if I recall.
No, but I answered that question.
Can we call
So-
for a vote?
I did want to bring up one point. Many years ago, we had some reason and we passed the budget right at the end of June. I'm not advocating that, but we still managed finance. I don't remember hearing that we lost any money.
We
But
did,
you
that's
did.
Mrs. Hall shared. They went out late.
You definitely did.
I had a question. I had asked a question, actually. Can we call for a vote, Mr. Donato?
Can you use the microphone, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I did. Can, the question that I ask, and I'll ask third time. Mr. Donato, can we call for a
Yes.
vote?
We have
Thank
a
you.
motion for 4.2 that was seconded. So all those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, Mrs. Eshelman opposed, so motion does not pass. Okay, at this point, we'll go back to what's on the agenda. Motion to approve items B, C, D, which is what we had discussed previously, the 4.3% tax increase.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Discussion?
Roll call, please.
Discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Keener. I just have one. I don't want to belabor this. We've said everything that needs to be said, but I do have to go back and say that as the chair of the finance committee, which means absolutely nothing except I lead that meeting, I would never vote for a percent increase that was lower than I believe that we couldn't achieve based on working on the expense side. We spend a ton of time talking about the income side or the revenue side from tax dollars. We spend very little time and energy, which I hope changes in the future, in looking at how we use those taxpayer dollars. I am a firm believer in this, that there is substantial amount of dollars available to us without in any way, shape or form, minimizing our education process. And I believe it starts at the high school. And I've said this before, and I'm going to use this example. It would be like me taking 5 tractor trailer trucks with 1 pallet each to the same location when I could put all those pallets on 1 truck and take them to the same location. And what I'm referring to are the number of students in the classes and our class sizes. When we have 5, 7, 10, 11, and we have 90 classes we run, maybe a little less than that, with less than 15 students. And we have a number of classes with maxes of 24 and 30, and they're not even at the halfway mark. It's concerning to me because I know the efficiencies are there, and I would never vote for a lower tax increase if I felt we were being good stewards of what we had.
Anyone else? I know you asked for a roll call vote. Mr. Keener, correct?
I did.
Okay, anyone else for the discussion? Okay, Mrs. Hall?
Sure. Mr. Maris,
No.
Mr. Wogomuth,
No.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Donato,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Garber,
Yes.
Mrs. Brady,
Yes.
Mr. Keener,
No.
Mrs. Eshelman,
No.
motion passes 5-4.
Wait, what? Wait,
No.
Mrs. Eshelman, what was?
Mrs. Eshelman
She's-
votes,
No.
she said no.
That's from moving now.
She said no.
Okay, so the motion does not pass.
No, it does.
It
It does.
5-4.
6-3, no.
One,
Okay.
two, three,
Mrs.
four,
Johnson, Garber,
There's
Five.
Five.
Sorry,
Mr.
I missed,
Johnson,
I missed Mr. Garber.
Yeah. Five.
My apologies.
I was like, no.
My apologies.
Okay,
What is the final tally?
5-4.
5-4.
He said.
I thought it
Okay.
was.
sorry, I missed.
Indeed.
Okay, motion passes then.
But Megan.
Mrs. Eshelman did not vote for it.
Oh, she
We
didn't vote
did
either.
not vote for it.
Voted no.
Oh, she was in-
5-4 pass.
Myself, Mr. Donato, Mrs. Johnston, Mr. Garber, Mrs. Brady.
Okay, motion passed, so we'll go on.
Wait,
Need a motion?
I'm sorry. Mrs. Hall, could you reread the votes, please?
Certainly. So Mr. Maris was no, Mr. Wogomuth was also no, Mr. Wagner was yes, Mr. Donato was yes, Mrs. Johnson was yes, Mr. Garber was yes, Mrs. Brady was yes, Mr. Keener was no, and Mrs. Eshelman was no.
So that's.
5-4.
Yep,
Thank you.
5-4.
Really good.
Okay. Moving on, approval for financial items F through P. Going.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Give me one moment.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand. Oh.
Did you say one moment? Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Mrs. Eshelman, okay, motion carries 9-0. We'll move on to other action items, which I believe will be the last thing. Motion to approve other action items B through K.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wagomuth, Mr. Keener for the first. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Mrs. Eshelman, motion carries 9-0. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.